5 years ago, a little show was created where we could talk about one of our favorite things, Nintendo video games. My friend Piers and I sat at a table in front of a green screen and discussed games announced at the September 2018 Nintendo Direct. That show, you all know, was PSwitch. We've been doing this show for 5 years. Many Nintendo Directs have happened, many Nintendo games have been released, and we've made many fun memories and many friends along the way. Thank you for 5 years of PSwitch. Hey, look at that, we're filming in a brand new production studio. I've talked about it many times on this channel, but in 2017, my life changed forever. Not only was it the release of arguably my favorite video game console ever made, the Nintendo Switch. This is my new Switch OLED I won in a giveaway during the summer. But it was the release of my favorite video game of all time, The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Before Breath of the Wild, I had just casually liked Zelda. I had Skyward Sword for my Wii. I never beat it until the HD version was released years later. I decided I wanted to try this new upcoming Zelda game for the brand new Switch. When I saw that presentation trailer of Link on the cliff looking out at Hyrule, I knew I had to play this game. Then I got it. After hearing Open Your Eyes at the very beginning, I immediately loved it. The new huge open-air gameplay, which was new for Zelda, the story about defeating Calamity Ganon, which took 100 years after failing. I can go on and on. Breath of the Wild really made me the Zelda fanatic I am today, and changed what a video game can be forever. I've talked about that game on PSwitch non-stop over the years. I just love it so much. Now, I think everyone knows that on May 12th, 2023, the sequel to The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild was released. The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, my most anticipated video game of all time. We went through the entire journey of waiting for this game since it was announced in 2019. The day it finally released was honestly one of the greatest days ever. But what do we think of the game? Was it worth the 6-year wait? Is it better than Breath of the Wild? To celebrate 5 years of PSwitch, join my friends, Kat and Ryan, as we review The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. This is
Okay. Welcome to PSwitch. So I'm supposed to be talking about the first part of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. I don't really play video games. PJ kind of just forced me to play the Switch, but he handed the Switch over to me. And I spent a couple hours in my room dedicating my time to having a raw first impressions of the game. At first, I kind of thought that I had messed up because the first portion is just Link loses his hand, and I was just like, oh damn, I completely messed this up. I also just overall kept dying throughout the game. Just multiple times, so just that didn't help. What were one of my first impressions? I thought Link talked more. He doesn't talk at all, which was really I was just expecting like the main character, like the person you play, would say something during it. No, it's just kind of everyone else just like speaking for him. What else? I like the visuals a lot, like how just like the visuals. Like it reminded me kind of like an anime like kind of style, or it was just like there's a lot of detail like to everything in the world. Dislikes, I'm really bad at it. I don't think I give people who play video games like enough credit, because I was just like, it can't be that hard. I definitely like overestimated how like hard the game could actually be, because it involves like a lot of puzzles. At some point I did have to look up a walkthrough. Not proud of it, but I did like get to definitely stuck during like certain points, especially like during like the puzzles, like where like the answer is like not super obvious. So I did find myself looking up how to like just find stuff, or I die and then I wouldn't have materials because I had lost them, or things would break, and then I like wouldn't go and pick up like every single item that I came across. The enemies that you fight are also a lot. One, scary, like to fight. Like I was definitely like on the edge of my seat, like okay, I'm gonna die, which I did a lot. I don't know what else you want me to say. The story. The story, I think I would have to like pay more attention to, because there's like a lot of lore to Zelda. Also, I didn't play the first part, which is Breath of the Wild, so I have definitely like some missing pieces. I like knew like there's like the big boss that has Zelda, and I had to find Zelda, but that's really most of what I know about the story. And like that super like god that comes down and like talks to you, Raru. There were a lot. I think when I got to like, it was like the first to last one, and I was just like, okay, this is like the last shrine, and then they're like, no, you have to go back, and I was just like, I thought this was the last shrine. They were interesting. I like that they were kind of like, each shrine was kind of just like a tutorial of like what to do, like how to use like each of like the hand powers, Ultra Hand. I like how like it kind of like, I like those because they were like, you kind of just like get to like experiment on like how to use the hand power that you were like given in that shrine. And they were like frankly easy. It's just like the tutorial. I lost my train of thought. Yeah, there was like I felt like it was a lot more complex than I imagined it to be. Like when I first impressions playing it, I assumed it to be like similar to like Minecraft, like just do whatever you want, but there is like some structure to it, but you do like still get to like explore and like linger around the world and do whatever you want. But it was enjoyable. Was it hard? A little, but I think like if you are more into video games, it would be a lot easier. It was also just my first time playing the Switch, like on the Switch, so I just had to overall just get used to like each control, because sometimes it would just be like press R, but I don't even know which one was R at the time. Like I keep it took me a while to like remember which one like you like hit with, which is why. It was just things like that. It was most of like my difficulties with the game were just like a learning barrier with the Switch in general, not really just like Zelda itself. Scale of 1 to 10. For first like Switch game, a 10. Like it's a good game. I know PJ loves it, so I feel like I'd offend him if I gave it any less. I think I would have to get more into it to like have like the passion that PJ has for Zelda, but it was really enjoyable. Like I definitely like I got stressed out during it at times just because I'm bad at the game, but it was really enjoyable. Like I can see why people spend so much time on it. I think probably just because I'm like I would rather have more of a sequence to it. I don't know if like Breath of the Wild there's like more of like explains more of like Zelda and Link, or if it's just like a singular story. I don't know. Play Tears of the Kingdom. It's a really good game. And buy a Switch because I hadn't played video games before, and I definitely want to now. Like, definitely on my Christmas list.
Hey guys, welcome to PSwitch. I'm Ryan, special guest today from PSwitch, and I'm going to be talking about Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So I'll be talking more about exploration, about mid-game, and some fun things to do. So first I want to talk about the deaths. So they added the deaths, and they added such a nice atmosphere for a horror feel. The fear factor and the deaths is unreal, from like Gloom Hands, the Frogs, or the Gloom Lionels, which, if you thought that the first game's Lionels were bad, this game ramps it up quite a bit. On the surface, we have new cave systems, which appear. There's more to do with the caves. There's more loot, there's more treasure, more enemies to fight, cool gear, cool armor. Each one specifically adds a new element to the game. Some mini bosses too, if you're up for the challenge. Caves are really good for exploring, for mid-game loot. Notable changes to the map can also be towers, which include air travel through launching through the top, which is really good for utilizing map travel early and mid-game, and even late game too, if teleporting is not as fun. New shrines are even cooler, new mechanics, not seen previously before, with new puzzles. It's pretty good. So I want to introduce some of the temples. So the Wind Temple is the best by far. Anything following Tulin into Hebra Mountain to scaling the mountain up to a large pirate ship, which hangs in a storm cloud, which was really cool. I like that really nice touch of the ships and stuff, which has always been a good thing for Zelda. Very neat experience with Tulin's ability, using the gust ability to travel further, and it's very useful. And I really like pirate ships, so I feel like it was a really good addition. And then the boss has to be one of the coolest things we've seen in the series, due to its amorphous frozen bug-like appearance and really intense fight. Gerudo Temple, I really like the Gerudo Temple because I love anything that's kind of desert related. Anything like tombs, temples, and pyramids, and like mummies and hidden traps and stuff. I really felt like the Gibdos were a good re-addition into the game, as they were in Ocarina of Time, and you know, everyone's favorite terrifying enemies. And I think that defending the ruined Gerudo town was really cool because you know, we kind of haven't had like kind of a last stand type of part in any Zelda game that is kind of similar to that. I think that the mirror puzzles and awakening the temple from the sand was really a good addition too. Just because, you know, the temple wasn't really accessible from the start, and it kind of made you have to, you know, go and unlock it and do a bunch of different things. It was pretty cool, and there's a bunch of cool loot, and I feel like the final boss was really cool with Queen Gibdo. Really interesting mechanics with using the lightning to utilize breaking Gibdo hives and destroying the queen too. It's pretty cool. Water Temple in its own unique way, from finding the King Sora underneath the waterfall to meeting our old-time pal Sidon, who seemed to not discussed that he was engaged since the last game. Finding the entrance was pretty cool. Getting the Zora scale from King Zora and using it to shoot through a water drop so that a waterfall would appear from the temple. Temple was kind of wide open, kind of easily done in about 10 minutes. It wasn't really that bad, but we just basically fought a mutant Octorok, which kind of seems kind of redone, but you know, I think his shark form was kind of cool, and it was still a very engaging fight, even if you were kind of low on materials and stuff, and you kind of took longer. It was still pretty fun to do. Fire Temple is super difficult to navigate, but I think easily cheesable with the right materials and right strategies. So, you know, if you want to do it legit, it might take a little bit longer. I mean, either way is perfectly fine. It's all about exploration and finding ways what's good for you about Zelda, which is what's nice about the game. And it's very easily accessible from the depths. You can kind of just go there if you have any like fire protection, which makes it kind of like not unique in its own way, because you can kind of just go there at any given time. But even though that, you know, some of the things won't be accessible until you get down there and get progressing with the story, so you know, it's kind of a bit redundant with going down there, but you just need to get through the story first. So I like the temple and I like the boss. I thought it was a good callback to some of the older games, where the boss would walk across the ceiling and stuff, and then you had to like knock it down and stab its eye, which is a really good callback to all the other Zelda games. Eyes are very, very important to the bosses. Things I really loved about this game, and some good notable moments. I like that the relationship from Zelda and Link has progressed further. As you can see in Hateno Village, Link's house has been called Zelda's house now, and they both share the house. And then even Zelda's study, if you go to the back of the house under a well, you can find Link's hair tie locked in a chest as a memento to Zelda, and from the old game, which is a good nod. I also like that Zelda updated Link's tunic and hid it in the castle, so he didn't find it until later in the game. And it was still really cool with the new like sword scabbard sash heading over his shoulder. I also love the recurring theme of fighting pirates in Lurelin Village and even Tide Island. I felt that was really cool because we don't necessarily get as many pirates in any modern Zelda games anymore. And I felt like just taking control of the seas was pretty fun. And they always spawn back too, which is cool, from the Blood Moon, whatnot. And then rebuilding Lurelin Village was another entirely different challenge, which was really cool because I always like rebuilding the cities and stuff in the game. Even in the previous game where we built Terrytown, which is pretty cool. Some other notable moments is I love one of the sage's abilities was to spawn a mech in the game, which you could fight in an arena with another mech. And it was just kind of like a mech boxing match, which was pretty fun. And you know, you could kind of add on any material to the mech, so you can make it stronger or more defensive. And that was really cool. And I think that when Link was finding out about the Master Sword, going down beneath the Great Deku Tree and fighting Phantom Ganon after the Gloom Hands was a nice touch, because it's a nice callback to Ocarina of Time's first boss, which was poisoning or zapping the life force from the tree, and then we had to fight it to help the Great Deku Tree, so I think that was a good callback to the game. And recovering the Master Sword from Dragon Zelda was, and realizing her true identity was really a truly bittersweet and sad moment in the series, which is why it's called Tears of the Kingdom, because you find out what happens by collecting her tears that she's dropped along her path as a light dragon, and finding her memories of when she traveled to the past, which I think was a really nice touch to the game, because in the last game you kind of just found Link's memories about like what he lost, and I really liked this game because you can kind of see what Zelda was going through, and what her huge contribution to the game was in a very high pivoted role, which I think is cool because she is zapped back to the first kingdom of Hyrule when she was, first where it was first built from King Rauru and Queen Sonia, while a sinister dark shadow looms over Gerudo Desert in the form of Ganon. And I think that Zelda moving to the areas where the champions were and talking to them was really cool, because we got to see how that was initiated, and the sages, because she could get them together, which would result in that final battle we saw with Ganon, which would cause Rauru to seal him in his previous state we saw at the beginning of the game, just years later in time, which I think was really cool. And the fact that Zelda brings back the Master Sword by turning herself into a light dragon to transfer herself into the future was really beautifully done, and I think that the ending was a lot more satisfying, knowing that, what happened to the two characters. Being able to reignite Link and Zelda was really good. I also love the crafting sense and the freedom you get from crafting, because you can kind of pretty much do anything and go anywhere with it. I mean, there's so many possibilities, to vehicles, to planes, to just, cannons, or even just building like a bicycle contraption to move yourself, or a hover bike, which is really cool. And the possibilities are almost kind of endless. And you can do what kind of your heart's content. Even the weapons are cool too. You can modify your weapons, which everyone wanted to do in the first game. You can make them stronger. You can build them with the armor sets. Once you get your armor sets from the Great Fairy and upgrade them, you have a lot more set bonuses and stuff, and that does help a lot against major enemies like Gleeoks and some of the bosses, and even the stronger enemies which are on vehicles or can grab stuff. And I liked the reintroduction of Master Koga, because we all know he wasn't gone. I mean, he just fell down the Gerudo chasm, and we didn't see him again, so figured he would be down there somewhere and causing more mayhem while blundering all of it, which he did at the end of the game, which was pretty funny. And all while he's trying to use control over the form of auto build and building Ultra Hand, which was pretty funny, just to see Link walk up to him and use the ability right in front of him. But I think that's all I have for today. Thank you for joining us, and I'm Ryan, and yeah, I'll probably just cut it after that.
Wow, hasn't this game been absolutely incredible so far? Thank you, Kat and Ryan, for giving us such great input on Tears of the Kingdom. I actually got to see both of their reviews before filming my part. Ryan did it all without me. I was there with Kat, helping her out behind her. She's so new to the video game world, but God love her. I couldn't have done this review without you guys. Thank you very much. So now I guess it's my turn to talk about the game's ending. I've never reviewed a game before, kind of nervous, but also very excited. I'll be talking about the final dungeon in more detail, which Ryan touched upon, and the actual ending, like the final boss of the entire game. So this game is already huge, as Kat and Ryan have talked about, but all good things must come to an end. So how does this game end? Well, it all starts at Kakariko Village. It's funny because in Breath of the Wild, you are encouraged to head to Kakariko Village towards the beginning of the game. I might be making a lot of comparisons between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, but which game do I think is better? Watch to the end to find out. Back to Kakariko Village. Paya, Impa's granddaughter, has become the new chief of Kakariko Village. It was funny because in Breath of the Wild, she was very shy and obviously liked Link, like him, but she's definitely become more independent. She tells you to investigate the floating Sky Island pieces that have fallen in Kakariko Village. I think it's great how the entire kingdom of Hyrule really has changed since Breath of the Wild. It feels very lived in. This leads to the final discovery of the 5th stage and the final dungeon. Going back to the Zonai ruins in Tears of the Kingdom felt kind of weird. In Breath of the Wild, they were such a huge mystery of a race in Hyrule that just mysteriously disappeared. Now in Tears of the Kingdom, Nintendo was like, oh, you liked the Zonai? Let's make them the literal reason the Hyrule you know exists. Let's make them literal animal gods. So when you get to the Zonai ruins after getting a sick new outfit and offering some Zonai pieces, lightning hits the dragon heads in the ruins and the mystery dragon head isles appear. Specifically, Dragon Head Island and the Great Sky Island are honestly where the Sky Islands were implemented the best, especially the Great Sky Island, such a great beginning tutorial for the game. When Tears of the Kingdom was being advertised all that time, the Sky Islands were the main focus, but honestly in the actual game, they weren't as big of a deal as at least I thought. Don't get me wrong, they're still very cool to explore. I really liked how different the atmosphere is up there compared to the surface, but they're basically just a shrine quest or a construct battle. Imagine if we saw an abandoned Skylock from Skyward Sword. If I do have a couple of gripes, that doesn't mean I don't love this game. I still absolutely do. I'm happy though we still have the Sky Islands and we also have the depths. Now they were a surprise. Going down there for the first time was absolutely terrifying. Yeah, after exploring the depths for a while, it was the same atmosphere, getting all those light roots over and over again. But the fact that those creepy depths are about as big as the already huge map of Hyrule is insane. But yeah, back to Dragon Head Island. So Link discovers a secret mask. This mask is ancient and leads you back down a secret way to the depths. The way Link goes down to the depths is very cool. Which was cooler, going down the depths for the first time, hearing that giant horn, or going down the secret elevator? When you enter the depths, you're greeted by a huge construct factory. During your whole journey to this factory, a mysterious voice has been communicating with us. Her name is Minoru, another Zonai, older sister of King Rauru. That mask we've been carrying was actually hers. She wants us to make a super awesome new body for her. Each section of this construct factory has a depot where we get a different body part for this new body for Minoru. It's different than a regular temple just activating terminals. Rather, we're using the Zonai pieces and its environment to transport Minoru's body pieces together. It's really cool. After the body's all put together, we must go to the final temple in the game, the Spirit Temple. But how do we get there? We ride Minoru's construct. Yeah, you can ride the back of it and control it. It's a cool way of getting around and fighting enemies with it. Once we get to the Spirit Temple, we have to get, this time, Minoru's secret stone. But we're interrupted. Interrupted by the Siege construct, covered in gloom. Apparently this one was made long ago also by Minoru, so she made 2 of them? The way we have to defeat it though is super cool. As we ride the back of Minoru's construct, we fight the Siege construct as well in a 1v1 boxing match, which reminded me of those Rock'em Sock'em robots. Remember those? I never had those myself, but I always think of the scene in Toy Story 2. After 3 minutes of playtime and defeating the Siege construct, we get the final secret stone, and Minoru's spirit leaves the Pura pad, which is like the new version of the Sheikah Slate, which she apparently was in the whole time. And the secret stone joins the construct. It honestly makes sense that the Spirit Temple was only the boss fight because the construct factory depot could arguably be considered the main final dungeon. Once again, we're in that other realm, given a new power. The Sage abilities really make me miss the ones in Breath of the Wild. But we get a new ring for Link's arm. I just gotta say, Link's arm, well, originally Raru's arm, It looks wicked awesome. Link looks super badass in every pose with that arm, honestly. I love it. I mean, come on, even I had Link's arm as well. That and Link's new signature outfit, the Champion's Leathers, which is now what it's called, a new and improved version of the Champion's Tunic, which I go back and forth of which one I like better, which is like my favorite outfit of Link's. It's definitely that one, the hero in blue. I know he's always been the hero in green, but he's the hero in blue for me as becoming a fan since Breath of the Wild. I love how with his arm, though, we're able to use the new powers in the game. We previously had the items from the Sheikah Slate in Breath of the Wild. So then once again, we're told the story about the imprisoning war, but the way it's told isn't copy and paste the way it was the 4 previous times. Evil King? Secret Stone? Every time. She tells us through us using those murals we saw at the very beginning of the game. Even the ones that were covered. Obviously we know what happened. The 4 chosen sages, Rauru, Minoru, and Zelda all faced Ganondorf, but were unable to stop him because of how powerful he was. But Rauru was able to seal Ganondorf for over 1,000 years. And what Rauru tells Ganondorf right before?
Thousands of years will pass in the blink of an eye. You only delay the inevitable.
You're wrong. Years from now, someone will appear with the sword that seals the darkness. A swordsman with the power to defeat you, Link. Remember this name.
Link. Interesting. I look forward to meeting you.
So damn good. See, moments like these are why I love Zelda as much as I do. Epic. Obviously, we know there's only one individual who can stop Ganon. Link. So yeah, this way the imprisoning story was told is amazing. But yeah, it's a full circle. That's how Ganondorf was sealed. It took us 6 years for them to tell us what that glowing green hand was on that corpse, which was one of the first things they ever showed us for this game in the very first teaser. Wow. Now it's time to defeat Ganondorf, the ultimate showdown. But how do we get there? Well, we have to dive deep into the Hyrule Castle chasm. Obviously, it's dangerous getting to Ganondorf. It's also dangerous to go alone. Take this. There are so many gloom-infested monsters like in the depths. The journey to him is nuts. We actually revisited where Link and Zelda were at the very beginning of the game. Those murals that were obscured by those huge rocks, now Link is able to get rid of those rocks, and we can now see the full murals, which ultimately described the imprisoning war. The music makes the build-up more and more suspenseful. It's the same song at the beginning, just put up to 100, honestly. Link finally dives down to where Ganondorf is. Before we fight him, though, it won't be that easy. With the help of the new sages, or new champions, we all fight the Evil King's army, which is all gloom-infested enemies. As if fighting them wasn't enough, the bosses from the 4 dungeons appear. The sages are able to fight them, though. It's interesting how, remember in Breath of the Wild, before fighting Calamity Ganon at Hyrule Castle, you had to defeat the Blight Ganons if you didn't free the Divine Beasts? Well, if you didn't complete all the dungeons, you had to fight the bosses here. Overall, a nice little prelude before the actual final boss. Link versus Ganondorf. The ultimate good versus evil. Hero versus villain. Rehydrated Ganondorf becomes hydrated Ganondorf. And we fight him in a 1v1 sword duel. I love how Link takes out his Master Sword the same way he does in Breath of the Wild. But you can see in Link's face this time how more angry he is to defeat Ganon this time around. He did it once, he can do it again. This fight I actually thought was pretty tough personally. It took me a while. Very different from Calamity Ganon. I think both were very unique in their own way. It was just great seeing Link and Ganondorf together again. The last time Link and Ganondorf were together in a mainline Zelda game was all the way back in Twilight Princess, back in 2006 when it originally released on the Wii. So as you fight him, he starts doing the same moves as Link. Remember Flurry Rush? Well, Ganondorf can do it as well. Gloom is everywhere, and it's just crazy overall. After we fight Ganondorf, he transforms into his Evil King form, and his health bar just keeps going and going and going all the way until it basically touches the right side of your TV or Switch. Crazy. His Phantom Ganon clones also fight alongside him, but our 4 sages are also there to fight with us. He also gets rid of our hearts. No, not temporarily with Gloom, but our actual hearts, like at the beginning of the game. After Link fights Ganondorf, Ganondorf knows he'll be defeated. So what does he do? This word is so hard to say every time. He dragonificates himself and becomes the evil dragon. He literally ate the secret stone he stole from Queen Sonia and becomes a dragon. This is the final cinematic phase, the Dark Beast Ganon of Tears of the Kingdom. When Ganondorf was turned into a dragon, he scooped up Link with his mouth, and now Link has to defeat him in the sky. We have help though. Remember, someone else we know also is a dragon. This whole battle here is very epic. Is it a lot easier? Yeah, but that's fine. The dragon has weak points that Link has to hit with his sword, and no matter where we are in the sky, Dragon Zelda knows to catch us. Even though she, as a dragon, lost all her consciousness as a person, she still knows who to help. Then finally, Link makes his final attack, and that's it. He explodes and is gone. Ganondorf is gone. But Link wakes up in another realm. He sees the dragon, Sonia and Raru's spirit. Link finally gets to meet both of them after all this time. With Link's arm and the help of Raru and Sonia's rewind ability, they're able to turn Zelda back into a human, as well as Link's arm being completely healed. They both disappear and Link is back in the sky, but he sees Zelda and she's falling. We have to catch her. So Link dives to her. The music playing is epic, something he couldn't do at the very beginning of the game. He finally reaches out and catches her. They honestly didn't need to add that final catch, but they did, and it was amazing. Link and Zelda then dive hard into the water, and they're finally reunited. They did it. They're home. Then the credits roll. The ending overall was really great. But there's an Easter egg. Purah, Tulin, Yunobo, Riju, Sidon, Zelda, and Link are all brought up to the Great Sky Island with Minoru. Link and the new sages make their vow alongside Princess Zelda, and Minoru says her farewell and disappears as a spirit. And Zelda, with all her friends, stands with her. That's the game. A Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. What a game. Can't believe I got to experience it and relive part of my experience here on PSwitch. So now Kat, Ryan, and I talked about the game. Wow. Before we go though, I think I should compare it to Breath of the Wild and say which game I like the best and give it an overall rating. Gameplay, I think Tears of the Kingdom wins this category. The Zonai creation possibilities are absolutely insane. They really built upon Breath of the Wild's gameplay system, which I already love, and just added more to it with the Ultra Hand, Fuse, Rewind, Ascend, and Auto Build. And the overall world is pretty much 3 times bigger. For story though, Breath of the Wild wins. The overall narrative they were trying to tell I thought was stronger in my opinion. You literally lose a war 100 years later and it's your destiny to save the world that's on the brink of destruction basically. Freeing the divine beasts, finding out what happened during the Great Calamity, and saving Hyrule in this overall narrative I found better and more interesting. Tears of the Kingdom story I thought was a bit messier. I feel like fewer things were explained and were more confusing. I think the main reason why is to explain is because as Link, our overall goal keeps changing as we play, and all these things we find out don't do as good as a job adding to the wider narrative, if that makes sense. In Breath of the Wild, we know exactly what we have to do right when King Rome tells us on the Great Plateau. Destroy Ganon. Yeah, of course we find out more as we play, but it feels more connected in Breath of the Wild's regard. Playing these games will probably make a lot more sense out of that. But I know everyone's asking, which game do I like better? Breath of the Wild. I still like Breath of the Wild more. That game made me a Zelda fanatic. It was the first of its kind. It was new, more mysterious, more unknown. The story was better. The feeling of discovery overall I just felt was stronger. Does nostalgia play a part in it? Maybe. I mean, I was in my early teens when Breath of the Wild came out, so maybe I just see more flaws in games now that I'm older, in my early 20s now. Whack. Tears of the Kingdom just added more to what Breath of the Wild was, and a lot of the stuff that was added I thought didn't necessarily make it better. And overall, Breath of the Wild just had a magic and a charm which I feel like Tears of the Kingdom had a bit less of, as well as the lack of continuity between both of the games. Specifically, just what Tears of the Kingdom carried from Breath of the Wild, just not much. Don't get me wrong though, I still love both games immensely. I've just spent all this time praising Tears of the Kingdom. It's still amazing. I think it was still worth the long wait, of course, and it is definitely my 2023 Game of the Year. But yeah, Breath of the Wild still stands as my favorite game of all time. So my final ranking, Breath of the Wild gets a 10 out of 10, definitely. Almost an 11. That's how heavy the 10 is. But for Tears of the Kingdom, I'm also going to give it a 10 out of 10 as well, because I still love it, don't get me wrong. But the 10 is a lot lighter, closer to a 9, I would say. Both amazing. My favorite games, my favorite series, I just love Zelda. I just want to say thank you to Nintendo and the Zelda team for making these absolutely incredible games, and I can't wait to see what direction the Zelda series goes next. Breath of the Wild 3? We'll see. Anyway, that's the episode. If you watched this, thank you so much. Please subscribe and switch on that like button for sure. Also, leave a comment. Once again, a huge thanks to Kat, Ryan, as well as Marcus and David for helping out. If you guys want to come in front of the camera real quick, Ryan, if you want to come too. Of course, Ryan, he filmed earlier, and David and Marcus, they helped with the production studio. So, can't believe PSwitch is 5 years old, and yeah, thank you for watching. This was our review of The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Signing out.